Good morning in the Americas. Good afternoon if you are part maybe from Europe or Russia. I can see Tatiana. Um, and it's really not quite late here, not really late. We're just kind of, get moving. It's 9 o'clock here in India. Uh, it's the ninth day of the Days of Miracles, and I welcome you so warmly to another session with Venerable Thubten Chodron. We are so very honored that she accepted to join us for two sessions, and for this one, we requested her. Hello, Venerable Thubten Chodron, requested her on to talk on how to create harmony for many reasons, because the Days of Miracles this time are dedicated to the swift return of our spiritual director, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and creating harmony or having harmony in communities is one of the main causes, I believe. I'm sure Venerable Thubten Schönler will talk about that. And since she lives in the Abbey and has lived in many different communities, I'm sure she is the perfect person to talk about it and how to create that harmony, because Shavasti Abbey is celebrating or has celebrated last year its 20th birthday. So there must be something really going very right there. Thank you so much, Venerable Thubten Schönler, for joining us. And I hope, yes, that is not too early. Sunday morning. Sunday morning. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, we don't sleep in the monastery unless we're sick. So we've all been up for a while here.
Thank you so much, Venerable.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. Okay. So, as usual, I'd like to start out with us just watching our breath for a couple of minutes, letting the mind settle, creating our motivation, and then going into the talk and maybe some Q&A at the end. We'll see. Okay, so lower your eyes, come home to your breath, and as you inhale and exhale, let all the extraneous thoughts go. Okay, so let's create our motivation. I think, well, I know all of us want to be happy and be free of anger and discord. And yet, we're the ones who create anger and discord, not other people. We think it's other people and their fault, their actions. But the anger and the disharmony is actually in us. And that means that we can do something about it. But we're only in other people. We can't control others. But if the disharmony and discord are in us, then we can do something about it. So let's renew our motivation not only for ourselves to be happy and live peacefully, but for all beings to be free of misery and be able to live peacefully. And so, in that way, generate compassion for the situation that we're in now and a strong determination to work for the benefit of all beings. And that begins by purifying our own mind. And so let's generate bodhicitta, the aspiration to attain full awakening, so we can be of the most effective benefit to ourselves and to others. And with that kind of thought, let's share in the Dharma this morning. Hey, so open your eyes, come out of your meditation. Okay, so as Venerable Kunpin said, yes, I've lived in a number of different communities, and I can tell you all about what makes a community disharmonious. Okay, and I'm not sure. Well, most of us live in some kind of community. It might be a family, it might be a group situation, even just one roommate, or even you live with your cat or your dog. You know, you're we're always with others. You know, so in the communities that I've lived in, where there has been discord, uh, there's some real common things that are going on. One is the self-centered thought. Yeah, everybody's just trying to uh, be happy for themselves. Everybody's thinking that other people are the problem and the cause of their unhappiness, and so we blame others. We get angry at others. We, push our own viewpoint or finagle things to get what we want. And, needless to say, it creates discord in the community. And then we all say, well, but wait a minute, we're all Dharma practitioners. How come there's so much discord? Well, my experience looking around the communities that I've lived in where there's been discord is one of the big things is people are not living according to the precepts, you know, and just even starting with the 5 precepts, or if you're in a monastic community, the monastic precepts, that when people are not living according to them, there's just a mess. I lived in one community, I won't mention names, um, but it was so confusing because there were 2 married couples, but one of them, people are sleeping around. This one's sleeping with that one's sleeping with this one. There's lots of single people, there's lots of informal couples, and that just created one big mess. Yeah, so that's the precept, to avoid unwise and unkind sexual behavior. People weren't keeping it, and so big mess. Um, and the same goes for when we don't keep the precept to avoid physically harming others, avoid taking what has not been freely given to us. And then also the one about lying. When there's lying and uh, going on in the community, then people pick up on the discord, and then you form little cliques because everybody's trying to find out what is actually going on. And so there is gossip galore. Okay, and we can really get into the gossip and talking about other people. Yeah. So, that's just a little bit about what doesn't work and what um, creates the problem. So I won't go into that because I think most of you are aware of the five precepts at least, and of the 10 non-virtues that the Buddha recommended that we uh, avoid, which also include uh, creating disharmony with our speech and harsh words and idle talk, gossip. Okay, so that's what doesn't work. I'm sure most of you know that already, even though we often get involved in that kind of thing ourselves. Yeah, we're sentient beings with afflicted minds. Now, in terms of what does work, yeah, in the monastic Vinaya, they talk about 6 harmonies of a good monastic community, and I think that these pertain to lay life as well. If you're living in a family or whatever situation we're in, okay. So the 6 harmonies are harmony in our body, in our speech, in our mind. Those are the first 3. And then harmony in the precepts that we have, the kind of ethical conduct we live by, harmony in how we share resources and the requisites for staying alive, and harmony in our views. So the Buddha set these out as 6 harmonies that at least a monastic community, and I think everybody should try to have, again, whether you're in a family or at work, whatever our situation is. Okay, so we to go into those. So the first one, harmony in our body, physical harmony. Uh, it it means that we become aware of how we move through space, how our body interacts with the living beings around us. Yeah. Are we just walking, storming through the hallways, or are we walking gently? Uh, are we respectful of other people's possessions, or do we just pick up things, um, that we want ourselves? Okay, are we, if you're in a celibate community, are people keeping celibacy? If you're in a community where people are married or they have other commitments, are people physically, abiding by those commitments? And so in a harmonious community, the answer is yes, people are abiding by their commitments. They're aware of um, how they move through space, how their body language influences the people around them. I think we all have lived in situations, maybe, and we do it ourselves. We may be angry and it comes out. We don't have to say a word, but How we walk changes, how we use our eyes change. We're giving people dirty looks. Um, yeah. So it becomes quite evident that if we become more mindful of ourselves physically, it's a way to create harmony. Yeah. Just, walking gently, um, being aware when other people are coming the other direction. I don't know how many times I've almost gotten run down by people coming downstairs very quickly and then turning the corner, and I happen to be right around the corner, and they, you know, walk into me. So, being able uh, to be aware of that and how our movement affects others. Do we slam doors? Do we stomp? Uh, or are we walking gently? Are we trying to walk in a graceful way? Yeah. Um, the physical harmony also entails, in a community anyway, following the schedule. When you have a schedule about when meditation is, when you eat, when you do different things, if you're living in a community, you have to follow the schedule. You can't invent your own schedule and go in the kitchen whenever you feel like eating and be doing something else when the meals are served. But we have to follow the schedule. And when there's meditation, we need to be in the hall. It influences other people if people are skipping meditation sessions or if people skip teachings. Yeah. Whereas if the whole community is there doing things together, it really it creates harmony. It creates so much of a community feeling. So it all comes down in many ways to doing our own trip. Are we going to do our own trip, or are we going to live in a cooperative way that is considerate of other people? And so it really makes a big difference. And of course, it's so easy to point the fingers at how other people can improve. But the real thing is to become more aware of ourselves. When everybody talks about mindfulness these days, this is the kind of thing to be mindful of. How am I moving through space? Yeah, how am I walking? What's the tone of my voice? And so on. Uh, and then, being aware of how we affect other people, you know, because, we're creating the whole environment that we live in. And if we, um, follow the schedule, and we're in physical harmony, we're respecting people physically. We're not running them down. Um, it creates a very nice feeling within the community. Okay, then the second one is verbal harmony, harmony with our speech. So here again, to abandon lying and creating disharmony by backbiting, uh, abandoning harsh words and idle talk and just wasting time. Yeah. Now, of course, what when we relate to other people, we can't always be having a heavy, deep philosophical discussion. So there's times to chat and times to share knowledge. Uh, but when we're doing that, to be aware, I'm uh, talking like this in order to connect to somebody. I'm not chatting to show off how much I know or to impress people with what a good sense of humor I have or impress them in some other way. Yeah, but I'm talking to communicate, and and then you know, to really value how we speak, because I think we all know that little jingle from grammar school: sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Actually, that's not true. Words hurt a lot more than sticks and stones sometimes. So we need to be careful with our words. And that's the thing: when our mind gets angry, we say the most outrageous things to people, especially to the people that we care the most about. So if you think about it, who do you speak? Who do you get the angriest at and speak in the harshest way? A stranger or somebody who you care about very much? Yeah. If we look, it's usually our family members that we treat in the most awful way, much worse than we treat strangers. Yeah. Because with the people we live with, we kind of feel, well, we're all together, and we've decided to live together, so they just have to tolerate me. And if I have a bad temper and I blow up and I lash out at somebody, well, that's just the way I am. And other people need to accept me for the way I am. That's not the right motivation, okay? Because especially we're all Dharma practitioners. Yeah, we're all people who care about the state of the world, and who at least profess that we care about others. And so, especially to show that through our speech. So there's a story about this from the Vinaya that you know where some disciples of the Buddha, it was they were in retreat, and after they finished retreat, they went to see the Buddha, and the Buddha asked, "Well, how was your retreat? Did you live harmoniously together?" And they said, "Yes, we did." And the Buddha asked them, "Well, what did you do, to create that harmony?" And since with monastics at that time, they all went on Pindapat, they went on alms round to collect food, and then they would bring the food back to the vihara, to the place where they lived. So one of the monks said, well, he explained how they keep harmony and said, well, we all go on our alms round. The first person who comes back, uh, he sets out the food that he's gathered. He arranges the dining room and puts out, whatever people are going to need. And then he eats his meal, and whatever is left, he leaves out for the rest of the people. And so then the other people come. Similarly, they share whatever food they have gotten and lay it out for everybody. They eat what's there. They clean up after themselves and leave the place neat. And then the last person, okay, similarly comes in, shares the food with the food that they've received out. Um, eats their meal, cleans up, and then does the kind of final cleanup. In that day and age, it meant refilling the water jugs and so on. But nowadays we don't usually have to do that. But to really leave the room in the dining area, the kitchen, in a very clean and organized state. And uh, and so the monk was telling the Buddha how they did that and how it created so much harmony in the community. The Buddha was actually quite pleased to hear that. So it's something that when you think about, it's not a big thing. Yeah, setting out the dishes, cleaning up, so on. It's not a big thing. But boy, some people have so much resistance to it. It's like, I'm happy to eat the food and make the dishes dirty, but I'm going to leave them and somebody else can wash them. And even if I wash my own dish, I'm not going to wash the pots and pans because, they were used for the whole community. So why should I be the only one who cleans them? Okay. So this kind of attitude, my goodness, this is going to create a lot of disharmony. Why? Because we're not being team players. We're only thinking about ourselves and what we feel like doing. Yeah. And and that just creates so much disharmony. So I think this whole thing of being a team player is quite important. And we in our community we see that a lot, that there's sometimes things that happen and they happen suddenly, but we all have to come together and do something. Uh, I remember one time somebody from another city was offering us a bunch of furniture and plants, and the truck arrived at like 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, when everybody's kind of at the end of the day getting ready for bed. But the truck arrives and we have to unload it. So we swarmed, we call it a swarm, okay? And everybody comes out and we all do what needs to be done so that, you know, the truck got unloaded. And I remember there was one person who told me, I really don't like the swarms. I just can't stand them. But it's interesting because after living in community, now that same person is invigorated when we have swarms because it's everybody working together for a common purpose. And I think when we do that together, it really reminds us of our common purpose, and it's fun to work together with other people. Yeah, we can talk and joke and get to know each other and cooperate. And it really creates a very good feeling. Whereas when we just think, well, I'm above doing this. Yeah, I have a higher status, so other people can do it. I'm going to step back. That doesn't create a very good feeling. Okay. Being a team player is really quite important. And one of the things that we've encountered, and I don't know if you have, do any of you ever say or think or feel, I just don't feel like it? Yeah. Uh, I've seen, yeah, I see a lot of nodding heads. There's things that need to be done, and we just say, I don't feel like doing it. I'll do it, but I'll do it later. I don't feel like doing it now. And it's a very interesting thing. What does not feel, not feeling like doing something, what is that all about? Yeah, it's a very interesting state of mind to look at. What is it? I don't feel like it. Yeah. What does feel like doing something feel like? Yeah. And what does not feel like feeling like doing something feel like? And what kind of mental states are behind each of those? Yeah, it's quite interesting, for our mindfulness practice. What is, I don't feel like it? You know, I don't feel like washing those dishes. Somebody else spilled this. I don't feel like cleaning it up. Yes, I know it's time that we all gather for meditation, but I don't feel like meditating right now. Yeah. So, yeah, spend some time and look at that mental state. It's really very interesting. Okay, so harmony in body, harmony in speech, especially with speech, what I think is important is to tell people what you appreciate in them and to encourage people. We are so good at criticizing people and so good at pointing out people's mistakes and people's faults. And we have to retrain our mind to point out what they do well. Yeah. And it's really important. And especially those of you who have children or grandchildren, if you're raising kids, yeah, it doesn't work when a child does something to say, you're a good boy, you're a good girl. That doesn't give the kid any information, what about what they did that you like. But if you say, you know, thank you for cleaning up your room, now I can walk there without tripping over things, yeah, then the child knows, oh, that's what I did that, mom and dad or my grandparents appreciate. I cleaned up my room. Whereas if you just say, you're a good boy, good girl, that doesn't tell them anything. So it's the same thing with adults. Yeah. When people do something that you appreciate, comment on it, you know, and especially if it's a time when you don't feel like doing something, but somebody else is doing it for you, um, to thank them and say thank you for. Yeah, the other day I dropped something in the kitchen and the glass went all over the place. Um, and right away, there were three other people in the kitchen. Right away, they came over. One had a broom, one had a dustpan. They cleaned it up. I just kind of stood there. Um, but I really appreciated that. It's like, well, I was the one who broke it. I should be the one who cleaned it up. But they just had this feeling, oh, we want to help. And they came and did. And so then when commenting on it, you know, instead of saying thank you, to actually say, that wasn't your job, but you kind of stepped in to help me, and I really appreciate. Okay. So telling people what it is that they did that you appreciate, or in terms if somebody has a very good quality, to point out that quality to them. Yeah, like I said, we're so good at pointing out people's faulty qualities. Yeah, you speak too loud, you slam doors. Um, but to just say thank you for walking quietly, or I really like the way you handled that situation. You were very calm. You didn't lose your temper with so and so. Yeah. So to really comment on those things and tell people what the qualities that you appreciate in them, you know. And I think we all need this, and especially if as Dharma practitioners, and especially as Mahayana practitioners, if we're saying we want to benefit all sentient beings and lead them to enlightenment, I mean, that's a big deal. Let's start with something small that we can do and see, and then build on that. And that starts with how we treat the people just around us and, encouraging them. Yeah. When people need encouragement, encouraging them and letting them know that, yeah, they have the ability to succeed in doing this. And if they need help, there's help. Um, yeah, people, we all know we need encouragement. So other people do too. Yeah. And I think it's part of our practice of generosity to encourage other people and to praise them. There was one time when I was teaching a course, and I gave people the homework to because we were talking about speech, and I gave people the homework of, in the next week before we meet again, yeah, pick somebody that you don't usually get along with very well, and every day say something nice to them or point out a good quality to them. So that was the homework assignment. Yeah. And and so then the next week we came back. So actually first, when I gave that assignment, there was one man in the group and he said, where I work, there is one of my colleagues who I just can't stand. I don't know how I can do this assignment because I don't see any good qualities in him. He doesn't have any. Okay. So I said, well, just go and try. Okay. So the next week, everybody comes back. And so uh, I asked people, well, how did it go? And that one man raised his hand and he said, well, I that person at my job who I can't stand, the first day I just kind of I didn't walk past them stomping. I just kind of, was a little bit gentler in how I walked past them. But I couldn't bring myself to say anything nice to them. But he said, and on the second day, uh, I said something nice, but it was a lie. Yeah. You told me I had to say something nice to somebody every day. I couldn't think of anything, so I lied. I made something up. And then he said that, and then the next day after that, that guy was, kind of smiled at me. And again, I said something that, you know, like small that he did that I liked. And anyway, because he changed the way he was interacting, and he every day said something just pleasant to the other person or pointed out a quality that they like, then the whole way that other person related to him changed. And so by the end of the week, the person that he started out not liking and not seeing any good qualities in, by the end of the week, he saw some good qualities, and the block of ice that was in their relationship had melted. Okay. So and so it was something for him to see that by changing his speech, he started the change in the relationship. Yeah. If he was waiting for the other person to change, it never would have happened. Yeah. But he took the first step and pointing something out nice that he appreciated in the person. Even though he started out lying, then the rest of the week, what he told was true because he began seeing that person's good qualities. Okay, so harmony in body, speech, harmony in mind. Yeah. So having the way we think about others, not dwelling on their mistakes and their faults. Yeah. And not letting our mind ruminate about what somebody said to us. Uh, yeah, because we can spend a lot of time, and sometimes we don't even notice we're doing it, but you know, we're not very happy with somebody around us. So we just go round and around, and this person said this, and oh, they must think that I'm just a real pushover and they can talk to me like that. Why do they talk to me like that? What am I going to say to them to let them know that nobody can talk to me like that? And we're going round and around. You know what I mean? Ruminating. Yeah. Do you ruminate? Go round and around thinking about what somebody said to you, what you want to say back to them, you know, and then worrying about it. And then we all throw in a little bit of psychoanalysis. We're not therapists, but that doesn't matter. This person I'm not getting along with, it's their passive aggressive, that's why. And this other person is bipolar, and that's why I can't trust them. We we have no basis, but diagnose people anyway. Okay. And and then go round and around and think about this and it makes us miserable, because we're just thinking something negative about somebody and we're bringing out the worst in ourselves because we're thinking, oh, they were rude to me. I'm going to be rude back to them. I've got to give them a taste of their own medicine. I'm going to show them what it's like for somebody to get mad at them because they get mad at me and scream at me. So I'm going to do it back to them. When we think like that, and our mind goes to that kind of motivation, of course, there's going to be disharmony. So, being really aware and mindful of what is going on in our mind. And when we're ruminating and when we're stuck in a rut of thinking negatively about somebody, to really see that we're doing that and pull back and say, oh, I've got to change the way I'm thinking here. And that's when it's very helpful to do the meditation about the kindness of others. Really thinking about how our lives depend upon the kindness of other people. And I found, personally speaking, I found that meditation to be a very, very important one for me to really help me change my attitude, you know, and uh, and change the way I look at people. Um, so to be able to see, yeah, how we are actually the recipients of incredible amount of kindness in our lives, and we often don't see that. Yeah, we just take the kindness for granted. Um, but when we, do the meditation and the kindness of others, it really points that out to us. Yeah. So of course it's easy to think about the kindness of friends and family, and appreciate that. Yes, we start with that. But then also the kindness of strangers. you know this is important too, and if especially if you live in a community where you don't know everybody really well because there's so many people. Some people are acquaintances, but to really see that uh yeah, we share the environment and we help each other, you know and just thinking about the food that we eat every day. Somebody planted the field, somebody harvested, somebody transported it, somebody packaged it, somebody put it on the shelves, somebody bought it, you know, somebody cooked it. And and then I just have a plate of food in front of me. But you know, the plate of food I have in front of me actually came due to the kindness and efforts of so many people that grew and transported and made the food, and to really think about that and what these people's lives are like. Yeah. And to appreciate that they spent their life energy doing these things so that I have food. Now you might say, well, I bought the food. I went to work and I bought the food. So it's not that they're kind. I'm the one who's kind, patronizing their store or buying the food, giving them money. But again, that argument really doesn't work because when we think, well, it's my money and I paid for it, actually, where did the money come from? Yeah. When we were born broke, totally broke. Yeah. When you came out of the womb, did you have a fistful of dollars? Did you have a credit card in your other hand? When we were born, we were totally broke. We had nothing. And everything we've had in our life since that time when we were born has come due to the efforts of other people. Yeah? And when we were infants, we had clothes. Where did the clothes come from? Even now, where did our clothes come from? Yeah, if you're wearing wool right now, you didn't grow the wool. Yeah, it's from some other sentient being. If you eat meat, my goodness, yeah, somebody else is donating their body to you so you could have lunch. Would you donate your body to somebody else so they could have lunch? Yeah, think about it. If you're eating meat, yeah, would we reciprocate and let somebody else gnawed our bones or chop off our our limbs or whatever to eat? I don't think so. Yeah. So if you're eating meat, to really be aware this is somebody else's body, which they're giving so that I can eat. So I have some responsibility towards other sentient beings. If my nourishment, my four requisites for life, food, shelter, clothing, and medicine, the four things we need to stay alive, those all come from others. Huh? So I'm totally, interrelated with others and dependent upon them just to stay alive. So I have some responsibility to contribute to the common welfare. So this goes to, whatever small group we're living in, and even society in general, to to contribute something to the society through what we do or what we say, something like that, and to acknowledge the kindness of others. It's really nice when you uh, are driving. If some people are doing road work, very often when people are doing road work and we want to get somewhere, we get really mad at them. Why are you doing the road work now? Why do I have to stop and wait for you to move your equipment? Why aren't you working at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm not driving on the road? You should be up in the middle of the night and fix the road then, not now. Okay. And we really get rather impatient. It's change that attitude and like think, wow, here are these people, they're working out in the hot sun or in the cold weather to fix the road that I drive on. And so when they're doing that, stop and say thank you for fixing the road. Very often you have to drive slowly when they're doing road work. Wave at them and say thank you for doing this. Uh, it's amazing what if you acknowledge people's effort, the difference it makes in their lives. Yeah. Um, we're in the middle of constructing a building at the Abbey. And the other day I was walking in the building, seeing what had been done. And there was one man doing the mudding and taping of the drywall. And that's tough work. Yeah. And he was working alone. And when I walked past him, I just stopped and I said, thank you so much. We're building a temple here and you're, a holy place and you're contributing to building it by doing the mud and taping. And we're going to have a beautiful building. Thank you so much. And this man, he had the most beautiful smile on his face, as if nobody had ever acknowledged before what he was doing and how much he was giving. And he just was like this gorgeous smile. And I thought, wow, it doesn't take that much to share a little bit of goodness and a little bit of happiness with other people, you know. And in this case, I was just commenting on what he was doing as his job and how much it was contributing to the welfare, to our welfare. And a couple of the workmen who are working on the building have commented on this. Um, the man who did the stucco, yeah, they there was stucco work way high, towards the roof, and he was an older man, but he had to get on not just a ladder, but one of these things, that you press a button and it lifts you up. And he's working in the middle of space there, putting the stucco on. And one of our nuns was talking to him and thanked him again for what he was doing. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of, um, I've really learned something from working here with you people on your building. And she said, what have you learned? And he said, I've learned something about kindness, and I've learned to smile more. And uh, you know, and I thought, wow, that's really something, because so often construction workers, nobody stops to say thank you. They all say you're doing this wrong, and how come you aren't doing you haven't finished with that yet. And he, said that he was really learning from working for us, and his work was done now, but he was going to come back in a few months and do all the touch up, because he really valued the work and he wanted it to be really well done. So he was going to come back. Yeah. So things like that, harmony in mind, harmony in speech, it makes a big difference. Okay, then the next one is harmony in precepts. So this means even if people don't have precepts, we have the same ethical code. Okay. So, like I was talking about the community I lived in, the Dharma Center I lived in before, where different people were sleeping with different people, and the confusion that created in the community. Yeah, if there's harmony in the precepts, then that wouldn't have happened. If people really had and lived by the same ethical code, all that mess wouldn't have happened. Um, Same way, if there's somebody in the group who has a very short temper, and they're not really mindful and aware of their speech, yeah, it really influences the whole group. But if we, take precepts, um, and so we become more aware of our actions, and we stop lying, and we stop bad mouthing people. um, and so we have the same ethical code and we're all living by it, then that makes a big difference. Okay. Now, the thing is, we are also ordinary sentient beings, and we don't always live by our ethical code, do we? Lots of times, I mean, yeah, we get angry, we get greedy, we get jealous, we get arrogant, and it comes out in how we treat other people and how we speak to them. So even when we don't live across according to our ethical code, yeah, if we acknowledge that to other people and apologize, it creates harmony in the community. I remember one time there was one person in our community, and she was going through a really difficult period and was quite angry and upset for a week or two. And when we had a community meeting, usually then these things get brought up and they get spoken about. And I was thinking, oh, we have a community meeting and everybody's going to turn on this person and criticize her. And she's, already angry and it's going to be a horrible meeting. That's what I'm thinking. But actually, what happened is the person who had been, in a bad mood all week came, and first thing she said, yeah, was, I want to acknowledge that I've been in a bad mood and I've spoken harshly to many of you, and I'm aware of that and I regret doing that. So I apologize. She said that the first thing, she owned her own behavior. Yeah. She didn't say, you did this and you do that. And of course, I'm going to get angry because you and you and you and you, blah, blah, blah. No, she didn't do that. She said she owned her own anger. I was angry and I said things that weren't very nice to other people, and I regret it. And by her doing that, first off, the meeting went very well. Nobody had to go to her and say, you were in a bad mood and you swore at me and you criticized me for something I didn't. Nobody had to say any of that because right away she owned it and she apologized. Yeah. So when we have the same ethical code, this is part of what we do, and we own stuff that is our own business instead of ignoring it or blaming others. And as a monastic community, the way the Buddha set it up is every fortnight, every couple of weeks, um, we gather and we confess our own transgressions and we make amends. And so it's something that we do regularly in our lives, and it really adds to the harmony in the community. uh, we often have lay guests at our community, so the monastics do their confession and making amends in one room, and then we have a ceremony that the lay guests do as well, going through their precepts. And so this kind of thing really helps with the harmony because then we all uh, acknowledge what is our responsibility. Yeah. And that stops a lot of quarrels. Yeah. And it stops a lot of bad feelings. Okay. So body, speech, mind, precepts. Okay. Then views, harmony and views. So, we need to have, uh, views uh, about the nature of reality, views about karma, things like that, that are in harmony. So, especially, the Buddha said this, especially for monastic communities, because we should have certain views. Uh, we study about the Four Noble Truths, and we have that view, and we share that view. And part of that view is that, it's our mind that creates our happiness and our misery. And so if we want to change our experience, we have to really change our mind. And when you live with a group of people who have that idea, then even though, like I said, we are sentient beings and we lose it and we do all sorts of negative things, but if we have that view, then we know that we're doing our best and everybody else is also doing their best. And that kind of view is very important, because when we think instead that people are not trying, that they're just dumping their anger all over everybody else in the environment, then we get in a bad mood and we retaliate. But if we think, people have the same view, everybody's trying, everybody knows that they have to own their own stuff. But for some people, it's just really difficult, and I have to give that person some more space so they can figure things out themselves. Yeah. Uh, but you have that view, so you or that common view, so you give people space. You give people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And and then we really care about the people we live with. You know, when you care about them, when you see somebody doing something negative, instead of getting angry at them, why are you doing this? You know, say, oh, this is somebody I care about. They're creating negative karma through the way they're acting or through the way they're speaking. And I care about them. I don't want them to be creating that kind of negativity. Yeah. And so then, when the time is right and you feel that person is open, sometimes you can go and talk to them and say, what's happening with you? You seem really out of sorts nowadays. Or what are you feeling? What do you need? How can I help? Yeah. And so, reaching out to the people that we work with, that we live with, that we interrelate with in the community around us when we, go to the grocery store or go to some office or something. Yeah. Okay. And then the last one is harmony in resources. So in a monastic community, we share the resources. Yeah. And the way the Buddha set it up, there weren't going to be rich monastics and poor monastics. Unfortunately, nowadays, that isn't always the case. Yeah. We in our community really try and share the resources and make it so that there aren't rich and poor monastics. Of course, some people may have saved more money before they ordained. We don't make them give up their money, but they can only use it for certain things like medical and dental care, for making offerings. Yeah. So, uh, but in terms of everybody has the same food. If some people need some extra food, the community gets that for them, unless it's something wildly expensive, in which case they have to do it themselves. But usually that's not a problem. We have clothing. Um, we have a whole closet full of old clothing. And when people ordain, they go and get some used clothes. They don't get new clothes. And so the clothing gets recycled. Um, we, we live in a community. We're given a bedroom to sleep in. Sometimes we have a roommate, sometimes we don't. Sometimes the you know we live in a building where when people walk along the corridor, the floor, it's not a carpet, so you can hear the footsteps. Sometimes people live in another building where there's carpet and you don't hear the footsteps. But we change rooms too, so that people can share. And if there's some teaching or event that people want to go to, the community often makes it happen. If this person doesn't have enough money to go to a teaching in another place that they want to go to, then the community helps them out. Uh, yeah, so sharing resources. And, we can see in our society as a whole that the unequal distribution of resources is the source of a lot of conflict. Yeah. I mean, when we uh, look at some of the wars that are being fought today, the wars are fought on who controls resources, who has the land that grows the crops, who has more money, who has homes, and who doesn't. Okay, so as much as we can in our own circle and in our broader society, work for an equal distribution of resources, it really creates so much more harmony in people's lives than if some people have a lot of funds and they can do what they want, and other people don't have much money and they can't do those same things. Um, yeah, so to really reach out and share our resources with the people around us. Um, yeah, sometimes we see people doing things like they will pay for somebody else's meal. I've had it where sometimes people will ask us out for lunch, and the benefactor who was going to offer lunch, this happened one time when I was in Malaysia. They went to pay the bill, and somebody else in the restaurant had already paid it for them. Yeah. So you see this often too when people are doing drive up to, I don't know, Queen or McDonald's or whatever. They'll often pay for, they'll pay it back or pay it forward and pay the bill of some stranger who ordered the food before them or is going to order it after them. This kind of thing is so nice to do, just unexpected generosity. And it's not a lot of money, but it really it makes a difference in people's lives, to know that other people are kind, that other people care about them. And we all wish that we lived in a kinder society, but we've got, Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. So if we want to live in a kinder, more generous society, then we should be the people that start out acting that way, you know, and welcoming people and sharing things with other people. Um, yeah, because that's if we want to live in harmony, then we're the ones who need to create harmony. Yeah. And become aware of our actions, modify our attitudes when we see that they're bringing disharmony. Okay. So I've talked for quite a while. Maybe there's some questions and comments. People want to ask something or say something. Yeah, Rishad.
Thank you, Venerable, for the talk. It's so wonderful. And at the start of the talk, you talked about 10 non-virtuous actions, right? So I struggle with this a lot. So I live in a family, and there's this one particular member in the family, and this person often does a lot of gossip, and she talks a lot about people behind their backs. She talks about them to me and other people in the house. And I often struggle with it because being a practitioner, I like this comes off to me because I don't usually do this. And when I talk about this to this person, she thinks I always take some sort of high moral ground, and then she sort of tells me that, look, we know you're a practitioner, but you don't have to take a high moral ground every single time. So I often struggle with it, and it also sort of irritates me every time she does it. And every time she uses this word, you're a practitioner, but you don't always have to behave that way. And it becomes tricky for me to sort of, deal with this sort of situation. Any thoughts or comments or feedback on this?
Um, you know, one thing is people do not like us to tell them their faults. Okay. So if she's gossiping, you're saying, gossip creates negative karma and it creates disharmony. Please don't gossip. She doesn't want to hear that, okay? Because it's criticism to her. Yeah. But if she starts gossiping and you say, I don't feel comfortable hearing all these negative things about somebody else. So please excuse me. Yeah. Or you're at work, very often at work, people will create groups, little factions, and people will gossip about somebody else in a group. And, and if you happen to be there when people are doing that, and it's kind of group bad mouthing of somebody, and you just say, I feel really uncomfortable talking with other people like this about somebody else negatively behind their back. Yeah, so please excuse me, and you just tiptoe away from the conversation. So you're not saying, you do this, you do that, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that. You're saying how you feel. I feel uncomfortable. Yeah, to hear other people talked about badly. So please excuse me. And then you leave the conversation. Yeah, that's one way to try it. Okay. Another way is if somebody is gossiping and they're criticizing somebody, then to say, oh, it sounds like you're really unhappy. So, to talk about that person's feelings, it sounds like you're really unhappy, or it sounds like you're quite afraid of you're anxious about something happening. Um, and so to talk about what that other person is feeling rather than what they're saying about a third person who isn't there. Yeah. So, it sounds, you might say something like, yeah, it sounds like you're kind of anxious and a little bit fearful about what might happen. What is it you're concerned with? And let's see if we can think of some remedies to deal with that. Yeah. And so you talk about that person's situation instead of what they're saying about somebody else. Does that make some sense to you?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Venerable, for the advice.
So, yeah, because really going to somebody else and telling them what you don't like about them and how they should change. I mean, when somebody does that to you, you don't like it. Yeah. So similarly, when we do that to somebody else, they don't say, "Oh, thank you so much for noticing my faults. Thank you so much for telling me how I should act, like I was 3 years old and didn't know how to act." I mean, that's how people respond. So don't get into that. Okay. Other comments, questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, Um, so I have one question about this act of kindness. Um, so I've experienced this on myself, and I also observe it with the very close people around me. Uh, Sometimes I feel like it happens that I don't know if it's a common saying, but like you give one finger and then the other side wants to take the whole arm. And like it happened to me. I saw it happening to people who are close to me and who I care about, and like it brings all sorts of emotions and all sorts of feelings, and yeah, I don't know if that is a clear question, but like I would like some maybe advice or like what to do with the anger or with the disappointment or with the feeling of being used. Like for example, I did something kind just spontaneously, and now it means that I always have to be kind because this other person is expecting that I will give more and more. Yeah, so mm, like where is the balance? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's different ways to look at that. Yeah. Sometimes we might say, okay, that person, you know, I cleaned up the room one day. Now they're expecting me to clean it up every day. Sometimes we might say, you know, that's okay. I'll do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. That person, you know, I gave a finger, they're taking my whole arm, but it's okay because actually doing this, I know I'm contributing to somebody else's welfare and I feel good when I do that. And it eases the relationship with the other person. So sometimes we might continue to do that, you know. So if we feel used, yeah, is who's feeling used? Where is the feeling of being used coming from? Yeah, it's coming from us. You know, we have some kind of rules about what people can ask us for, and they're asking us for more than we wanted to give, and they're not following our rules. But did we tell them our rules?
Mhm.
Did did we say, you know, I'm only going to do this one time for you, so don't ask me to do it again and don't expect for me to do it again.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you know, we have what I call our own rules of the universe, how other people should treat us. And we expect them to follow our rules of the universe. However, they don't always know what our rules of the universe are, you know? And if I look at my rules, you know, well, okay, what the foremost rule I have is everybody has to like me. Yeah. So don't say anything to me that shows that you don't like me and you're criticizing me, you know? Um, or I have a rule that if I'm kind to you, you better be kind to me back.
Mhm.
Well, and you know, aren't you being kind to me back? When I'm kind to you that day, that same day, you better be kind back. Or if I'm kind to this much, you should be kind in the same amount to me. So we have expectations of other people, and then we get upset when they don't meet our expectations. But you know, often they don't know our expectations, and often, even if they do, you know, there are expectations. Yeah, there are rules that we're setting up for other people. So that's one thing. That's the first thing that I check, you know? Yeah. Then let's say it is something where somebody, you know, is expecting something of me. And uh, I, you know, I did it one time, but I don't feel I don't have the time to continue to do it, or it's in, you know, it's not working with my schedule or whatever. And so then just to say to the person, you know, um, yeah, I clean, yeah, I'm using that thing of cleaning up because that's so common. You know, I cleaned up today, or you know, I cleaned up yesterday, I cleaned up last week, but you know, this week I'm unable to do it. Um, you know, please don't expect me to do it every week. Huh? You just say that. Yeah. If you say, why are you expecting me to do it? I'm not your servant. That's not going to go over very big. If you say, I'm glad I could do it last week, this week I'm unable to do it. Yeah, then they adjust. They adjust. And you know what I found is so often in difficult situations, the the way to deal with it is just to say what's true. And people sometimes are so hesitant to say what's true. To say, uh, you know, I wish I could do that for you, but today I'm in a hurry and somebody else is waiting for me. So I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's the truth. Yeah. And we say that other people understand. Whereas if I say, why are you always asking me to do things? This isn't fair.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. You getting what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. I just have this one situation where there is this very, very kind person, which is not me, unfortunately, but this person with very big heart that is like always ready to help, and there are these people who I see they take so much advantage, and that really, like, I really don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to I don't want to like control the situation. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but also like it brings all this like feeling of injustice, and yeah, but I think maybe that I have to like I
Yeah.
don't know, stay with it for some more time, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're projecting your needs onto that other person.
Mhm.
They may like giving. They may, that may be their way of sharing their own happiness.
Mhm.
And yeah. And so they may enjoy it. And if they're doing it for a good motivation, they're creating a lot of merit. So if they're happy doing it, let them do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes we see people who are people pleasers, and a people pleaser will please other people, but then very often they'll complain about it afterwards, you know? Then you might have to talk with your people pleasing friend and, encourage them to look at their own motivation. But if somebody is really enjoying doing those things, let them enjoy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
this thing that you mentioned about justice, oh my goodness, it comes up in community life. And I mean, I think some of the words that I often joke, the first words we learn as kids, especially if we have siblings, is it's not fair. Yeah, because we're always comparing ourselves with our siblings. And, oh, I'm the older one. And when I was this old, I couldn't do that. Now my younger sibling, you're letting them do what I couldn't do when they're that age. And it's not fair. It's like, you know, we have this idea of fairness that is just it can be so limiting. Yeah. And just complaining all the time. Yeah. Oh, I had to wash the dishes 2 times in a row, and somebody else, it was their turn and they didn't do it. It's not fair. And where is this standard of fairness coming from? And who is making my doing this chore unhappy? It's my own mind that's making me unhappy. Okay.
Thank
So,
you very much.
to see
Very,
that.
very useful.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Anything else? Other questions, comments? No? Okay. Then we'll close for the day. So let's just take a minute, a couple of minutes of meditation. So think about what you heard that you want to think about some more, that you want to integrate in your life, or that you want to be more mindful of, more attentive to in your own life. So let's take a minute and do that. And then let's rejoice at the merit we created as individuals and the merit that everybody on the call created, and rejoice that we used our time learning, we used our time thinking about something worthwhile, and that we're coming out of it with some renewed conscientiousness and renewed joyous effort in our practice. And then we'll dedicate the merit. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Okay, good. So thank you all very much. And may we all together, as a group and individually, contribute to creating harmony in whatever environment we find ourselves in.
Thank
Thank
you
you. And
so
thank you,
much.
Venerable Kunten, for organizing everything and making it happen.
Thank you so much, Venerable Thubten Schörenla. And there are so many comments in the chat how people appreciate your words and find them really practical, applicable to everyday life. And thank you so much for your kindness. And at Tushita, actually, every morning when we have a morning meeting, we recite your words, offering service. I don't know who brought it into Tushita. I think the person didn't last long, but we that was a leftover. And I try not to be like a tape recorder every morning, but really, really, it's that short verse, right? Offering service to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and really listening to each other and not getting, upset at each other. And we recite it every morning. So may we be like Shravasti Abbey, creating harmony. And I wish you so much success in, your building activities. I think we talked about many years ago about building and how difficult it is, not just in India, but in the US, wherever one is. And I really, really admire, how, this building is coming up so quickly and it's quite amazing. And we really, really rejoice. Thank you so much, Venerable. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that we see you very soon again here at Toshita. Hopefully, when you come to Dharamshala, you're always
Okay.
so very kind, to let us know, and then we have the joy to have you here. Thank you so much, Venerable.
You for everything you do, and thank you everything to everybody, because we created this all together. All of us contribute, whether we're the speaker or the listener. Okay, good.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, and
Take
have a
care,
wonderful
everybody.
Sunday. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I see many of you already have joined twice today. Thank you so much. It's very inspiring for us to see you. And tomorrow we have two things going on, because we have one extra event. If you're interested, we're gonna have a Guru Puja tomorrow at 7 o'clock with some really special guests. I think I told you already we have some lamas from Kopan, Lama Konchok's reincarnation, Putzok Rinpoche, and then the abbot of Kopan, Lama Lundrup, his reincarnation, Ringse Rinpoche, who got ordained yesterday by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and another Rinpoche, and they're going to join tomorrow's puja, so we're going to stream it. 7 o'clock Indian time, and at 9 o'clock Indian time, we will have Venerable Jamyang talking about empowering oneself with wisdom and compassion. So please feel very welcome to join us again, and thank you so much, and have a good day, have a good afternoon or a good night. Here in India, we are now at 10:30. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.